Hey, I'm Jimmy Jam here at EastWest Studios, and this is DrumX from EastWest Sounds. We started off working with Prince, Janet Jackson, and her brother Michael would definitely be on the top of the list, but some of the artists, the Patti LaBelles, Mary J. Blige, Sherelle and Alexandra O'Neal, the Human League. There's too many to name. The cool thing about this to me is that rather than having one drum machine, basically you can combine all of the sounds and you can tune them, you can put, reverb on them, you can do all kinds of different stuff. For instance, the snare. Now, normally on a tuning of a snare, you might get from there to there, but this also transposes. So you can go all the way down to there or all the way up to there. So it allows you to create kind of whatever that feel is that you want to get. And that's just from the one set of drums that we're using in here right now. We can pull from every kind of drum that you possibly have. And then the other thing you can do is you can add on each of the sounds, you can add, for instance, reverb, delay. Not only do you have the sounds, but then you can manipulate them each in their own way. By the way, I just want to show with this snare, for instance, there's a reverb that's in here already, sort of like an AMS type reverb. But in the ecosystem, there's any reverb that you want. This just happens to be the one that we loaded up here, but it can be anything across the EastWest system. So you can use 100 different reverbs on every separate drum if you want to do that. I'm a little more simple because I'm just old, right? So I'll go with what's here. But you have the opportunity to do that, and options are always a good thing. It's just a creative tool in the best way. Okay, you can't have a drum machine without an 808. So if we start off with just a regular 808 kick drum, and there you go. But the cool thing is we have tape saturation in here. So we can push it, we can push it up another level, we can push it up another level, or we can push it really extreme. Before we tune it, before we do anything to it, we've already got 5 different looks. So it's unlike any 808 that you've heard because of these different elements in there, but it still has that classic 808 feel to it. Yeah, okay. I'm in time travel now. I'm like in the time machine back in the 80s. I love that. That's awesome. The other thing that's kind of cool about this is if you take these sounds, you can crush them. You can change the whole feel of it and the whole energy of it just by messing around with the different settings and stuff in here. And there's also tonality that comes out of that, which I also like because for me, I want to be inspired to hear songs. So I kind of hear the notes in the noise, if that makes sense. So something like that I think is pretty funky. In the old days I mean like 40 years ago when Control was being created, it was really about the drum machine setting the tone for what it was, whether it was Nasty or What Have You Done For Me Lately or Control. It was always the drum beat that then informed what the music was. So what I like about this is that this can inform not only your beat, but also because of the tonality that you get. Whether you crush it, whether you drive it, whether you compress it, there's notes that kind of come out of everything. And then that kind of leads you to where that song place is going to be. So it's a total great creator's tool. It just gives you the freedom to do it. And of course, it sounds pretty damn good too, which is always a good thing. All right, so got an assortment of drums in here. Got the 808 kick, the LM1 cross stick, but I like that more like... That's more the trademark that I like. The Linn clap, 909 snare, SP12 tom. So I like to tune them so I have a little bit of an idea. LinnDrum tambourine. LM1 hat. the Linn Cabasa and the 808 Maraca. 808 cowbell, because you gotta have that. Yeah, I like that better. So I kind of like that. So now what we'll do is mess around with the transient and the drive and stuff and see if we can get a little more articulation out of it. Nice little groove. So now the transient's making that hit a little bit harder. The drive will bring up the low end. Yeah, now we'll compress the whole thing just a little bit. And now we'll see what happens when we crush it a little bit, because we love to crush. See what we come up with. The 808 takes you one place, the 909 takes you another place, the SB12 takes you another place. And then when you mix them all together, you end up with this combination of really kind of cool things. And then when you crush it, it brought in a whole different tonality to it as soon as you crushed it. And then, of course, all of that can all be changed and all can be, you know, manipulated however you want to do it. Once again, I think I already said the crush is one of my favorite things on here. So what I like about it is if you take a regular beat, not that my beats are regular, but if you take a regular beat and you basically are just dealing with, you know, Linn, kick, snare, just real simple stuff, right? The cool thing is, once again, I'm using the low conga of the Linn as my note finder. So I have it down here. I think that's E, right? It's A, just what I said. I'm gonna start it clean. We got a little bit of transient on it, just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of push. And now we bring the crush into it. So now you hear the tonality of it. So we go from just the boom, 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 and now you don't even need music on it. All the tonalities, everything is right there.
We're giving people a tremendous resource. They get Jimmy's expertise and feel and groove and all the rest of it baked into this product. I think that's just a tremendous opportunity, tremendous inspiration for people to be able to build on and create some great new music.
Being with my partner Terry for over 50 years at this point, it's really about the collaboration. The collaborative process is the best thing about music. I think people would probably feel like, wow, I get to work with Jimmy Jam on a drum beat, but I feel it goes both ways. So I'm excited that maybe something that I've helped create will go to some new great artists. I think that's really the best of both worlds. Drum machines in the early days didn't sound like drums. Once everybody wrapped their head around the fact that it was just rhythms, rather than trying to emulate a specific drum sound, that's the thing that really opened the door. If you think about the LM1, Prince would do things like tune the side stick down like really low, which I love to do to this day. And so it wasn't that we were trying to make things sound like actual drummers. We were trying to use it as a rhythm, as a pulse to the songs. I started off as a drummer before I was a keyboard player. Terry made me a keyboard player, by the way. I told him, I'll go play drums with you. And he said, I already got a drummer, I need a keyboard player. When Terry and I first started producing, one of the things we did was we would always switch the drum machines up. When we did SOS Band, it was the 808 drum machine. Alexander O'Neill and Sherelle, it was the DrumX drum machine. Janet, it was the LinnDrum. And later on, the SB1200. So we would always switch up drum machines for whatever we were working on. This machine allows you to have the spontaneity in the way you work.
The way we have it organized in DrumX is that you can put together any kind of custom kit with 16 components from those 10 drum machines. So the chances of people actually putting together exactly the same one is fairly remote. So you're already starting from a unique place anyway.
A lot of the creative stuff that Terry and I did in the 80s was really based around drum machines, meaning that the creativeness came from the drums first, more so than the notes on a keyboard first. In learning DrumX, there was so much tonality that it almost gave me the combination of the beat making, but also gave me the hint of notes to start forming songs.
You just loop it, get on a keyboard and start playing with the groove. And all of a sudden, the song just starts materializing because you're starting off with such a great foundation.
For people that know those classic sounds, it's so good to hear them done so well and so clean. And then you start adding little bits to it. And by the time you're done, it's kind of an evolution. There's, 200 beats in here. Everything from the most simple 808 beat, it's very clean and very crisp, to the most distorted, weird, crazy thing. DrumX does them all equally well.
We have it all. It's all enclosed in this one interface. Not just individual sounds, you can stack them. You can do anything you want. You can identify a pad on the drum machine and there's a whole interface of controls just for that pad. And if you want more, you can go into the Opus mixer and access hundreds of effects, reverbs, delays, any kind of processing you can imagine on each and every one of those pads. I can't think of anything that you'd want to do or you could not do with this and the Opus ecosystem. You're limited only by your imagination.
DrumX will give the opportunity to a whole new set of producers who are familiar with the sounds to actually have them all at their fingertips with a way to create, and then to also bend the rules, I guess, a little bit on what can be done as far as, reverbs or echoes or processing. I mean, I know how much fun I've had with it personally, but I can't wait to hear the amazing ideas that other people are going to come up with because of having the access to all the classic machines all in one place, but then being able to then take those and really alter them to wherever your imagination goes.
I think we just got extremely lucky. Not only did our software team build a really good groove machine, but then we got the groove master to come in and put the icing on the cake. I mean, how many people do you know that had 42 #1 US Billboard hits? We already knew we had the most popular sounds that have been used for many decades, but we needed someone to put it all together in a way that was inspirational and people writing songs.
At this point in our careers, we've always kind of said we want to try to do things that we haven't done before. We always loved the EastWest products. We always thought they were great. There was always such an attention to detail with them. The process has been absolutely amazing, absolutely inspiring. I hope people get that same emotion from this beautiful product. In my mind, I was thinking, let me just see where the machine takes me based on the sounds and the combinations of sounds. I ended up on a whole journey. Sometimes it needed to be more of a sensual ballad type thing. Sometimes it needed to be like a straight ahead house record. Sometimes it needed to be really quirky. And the versatility of the machine made all of those things possible. I just looked at it as being a creator and let me create some great drum tracks. Funny because now that I hear it, I just want to start playing something. I mean, like literally that's the way I would put in a beat like this, and then I'd walk over to the keyboard and then I'd start playing. It instantly will catch your ear. And like, oh, wait, what is this? There's a whole nother layer, like, yeah. That's why I said like on the last one, I just was like, let me think melodic. But toms are already kind of melodic anyway. So if I can figure out a nice little melodic thing then I can just build something around it. But like I always say, man, it's like cooking. It's like there's all these little spices. You don't know what the heck's in there. You just know it tastes good. But then when you actually break it down, it's like, oh. Once again, I'm just trying to make stuff that inspires, but it's the same way we make our records. So that we like them, and then we just hope everybody agrees. Just need Pharrell to come in and sing now. It all works, you know, and it's just, you know, once again, just exploring the machine and things that you can do or possibilities. But I just like that you can start off just with such weird sounds, but then you can actually put the melody and the key into the sound, but then you can take it out too. It can just be just straight drums. But I kind of like, you know, like for instance, that's F basically is the one, you know, it's just kind of find something that works. And the F and then the cymbals are tuned to a different kind of thing in the same chord. So the do is the F, but then there's dun, 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 that's in there too. So it's basically the seventh is in there, almost subliminal that it's in there. But if you hit that chord, I mean, that's right where you're at. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of stuff is really cool to me. Drums should have a little melody to them, you know, if you can, you know, pull it off. And this allows you to really do it.
That was easy.